I did a male baseball player. In fact, I put the baseball player in this exhibition, and they accepted my work, but they said, would I mind doing a female figure? And I said, sure. I wish I had thought of it first. So I did a female soccer player instead. So I'm one of 5 10-foot by 10-foot murals on the wall on Vancouver Street. In terms of philosophy, like I was always fascinated by Virginia Woolf and her idea of reality, that life is really about a lot of dissonance, and there are only moments of pure harmony and peace when everything all comes together, like Mrs. Dalloway in one of her books. And I find that searching, yearning, and then peace, I find that really meaningful. And in this work, well, I'm figuring people, it just all fits together for me because people are finding a kind of a satisfaction and an enjoyment when they are carrying out these activities. What I ended up doing was, I chose figures because I was first inspired by the whole idea of large figures on these windows at the rec center. That was my first introduction to this. And so I had to decide which figures and doing what and in what configurations and so on. And so figuring out which figures was and what they were doing was one of the first things. So I focused on activity, not that recreation is only physical activity. It could also have been art, or could have been all kinds of things that they do in these recreation centers. But I had to focus on something. I was always trying to weed things down. And so the multicultural component of it, I decided I would choose activities that suggested ethnic origins, such as lacrosse and aikido and tai chi. And then I also went broader with the figures to look at the activities that were really popular at the rec center, which are swimming and weightlifting and dance and skateboarding, and then also looked at sports that are really popular throughout the world, which, you know, that meant they were accessible to everyone. So soccer and baseball got into. And so then you asked for the community part. Well, the community, I mean, I know Gordon Head, but I needed to step back and look at it, not just from my personal experience. So I did a lot of walking around trails and photographing and talking to people, taking pictures of Mount Baker from the right places, and because I felt I needed a physical environment in part of the paintings. I'm inspired by what I see. A lot of artists start from what's in their head. I start from what I see outside of me. And that was one of the big things I learned at art school. Like most of my professional or career life has been disciplined and organized, and my personal responses to things, my emotional response to things, I often would, you know, move away from me so I could get on with what I was intending to do. What I learned in art school was that this is a time when you pay attention to what you feel. So if you're walking down the street and you see something that really moves you or makes you cry or something, then you don't just put that away. You pay attention to it because it's meaningful to you, and therefore a source of your art. Because art is really so honest. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, in this work, I looked in this work to inspiration in terms of color. And so those artists were Cézanne and Degas, and yeah. It's like I'm constantly going to my art books, I'm constantly going to galleries, yeah, and there are people I run into that I absolutely love, and I try to use what they are doing. Like, over here on the table here, I have a book that I happened to pick up at a gallery, and it's just the type of color and movement that I love. And then I just recently ran into an artist in Toronto, Virginie Bosset, at the Thompson Landry Gallery, and her work just really, really. So I just depends on where I'm at. It's always going to be movement, emotion, and color, and for me, it's yearning and drama. So those are the things. A lot of things happened when it was digitized, but I guess the colors weren't maybe as vibrant as I hoped. But I can't really say, like I was always wanting to know what it would look like. When I was painting small, I wanted desperately to know what it would look like big. And I never really knew that till after it was scanned. But yeah, it was a little different. Like it's not a lot different, but naturally, unless your work is sort of impasto, there's going to be a porousness to the final product. So I think there is, but then I'm not unhappy with that either, because it kind of softens them. Well, it's often something that makes me sad, like a look on someone's face that you just know something's really going on there that's sad, and that creates sort of a problem for me, because you can't go up and ask to photograph that expression. So I look for it elsewhere in things, like I get from my daughter and from her colleagues, I get a lot of performance images that I'm allowed to use, and they hold expressions like that. Well, I like to dance too. I mean, I didn't really learn in a formal way, but like, Zumba. Have you ever done Zumba at fitness classes?
No, but I've heard about it.
It's just to die for. It's so much fun. Yeah. Nobody knows, or at least we can't really see what we look like, and you really don't care. You're just having too much fun, and you're trying to follow the instructor. Yeah.
Nice.
And it's movement and music and energy. Yeah. And being in the moment, actually. That's what it is. Then you go away. We all do. We leave there and everybody's got a smile on their face and go back to your life. And in this show, I guess, there's just all those different ways of doing that. Like playing baseball. I mean, if I was a great baseball player, that would give me that high.